Hey, everybody, welcome to Crown Council Live. I am Stuart Anderson. This is our weekly program every Thursday where we connect with our Crown Council community, our team members, and our resource partners. We love the opportunity to bring everybody together at least once a week where they can share their best practices. This week, we've got a great program, three great guests. Our first, Tanya Bailey, is joining us for Coach's Corner, where we meet and connect with one of our TOPS coaches. We're grateful for Tanya and thankful for the teams that she always brings into our Crown Council Live. So we'll go to Tanya first and meet our team and connect with them for just a minute. So, Tanya, go ahead. All right, welcome to the live stream, Tanya. Grateful to have Tanya joining us live. Tanya, welcome to Coach's Corner. Where are you today?
Oh my gosh, I am in Shelby Township, Michigan, with the amazing team of McKinley Holloway Legacy Dental and
Awesome.
Dr. Brittany Holloway.
You guys, welcome. Tanya does the best job making sure that everyone is in the. You guys look great in the camera there. Very good. What are you guys working on today, Tanya? What's going on?
So I'm so glad you asked. We have had a great 2 days. Yesterday, we did some great patient care. And this morning, we have been having a fun time doing our That's Fantastic game.
Whoa.
As well as, yes, and that's just a teaser. You'll have to have me in the practice to find out what that means. But we have been revisiting the importance of culture and the culture guide. And then we just spent some time this morning looking at something amazing this practice has accomplished. A little over a year ago, they made a decision to move away from being restricted with Delta Dental. And we are just celebrating the results from that, of the minimal loss of patients, and then how to continue to work in the practice and invite patients to return, keep the retention up, and then just all the systems and verbal skills that go along with making that happen every single day.
Very cool. Hi, Brittany. Could you introduce your practice a little bit, where you guys are, and maybe just a short history of who you are and how the practice runs?
Sure. We're in Shelby Township, Michigan, which is a little outside of Detroit. This is my team. We have 3 hygienists and a handful of assistants and front team office. A little bit about me and in the practice. I started dentistry in 2011. Joined my dad in practice at that point. So he and I have practiced. He and I had practiced together since then. And we've been with Tanya for the last 4 years or so. And our intention was to really grow and to be better and to do better as a practice. And we've really been nailing that, I think, as a team who really appreciates personal growth. That's been a real fun opportunity for everybody involved. So we've been going through a lot of changes over the last year. As Tanya said, we dropped Delta Dental. Shortly on the heels after that, we lost Dr. McKinley. So we've been going through a lot of change in our practice. And then we've recently also dropped Blue Cross Blue Shield. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're just excited to continue to move forward and to continue to do what we do.
Nice.
A different way. So we're going through a lot of different challenges. So
Very good.
all good stuff though.
Good. Team members, did she miss anything?
Practice. Name change. Oh yeah. Yes, we did go through a name change, obviously. So that I think Tanya touched on that. It's McKinley Holloway Legacy Dentistry to honor Dad and my long family history of dentistry in our family. So
nice. And
are there more dentists in the family?
There are. There are. Dad had a lot of brothers that were dentists. I am the only grandchild so far, but his dad was a dentist. My grandfather and grandpa's 2 brothers too. But we have 56-ish cousins. And so far, I'm the only one that's followed in those footsteps. There might be one more coming down the tube, so we'll see.
Very cool. If you were at the annual event, anybody watching, you remember we did honor Dr. McKinley on stage for his legacy and example and leadership in the Crown Council, which I loved. It was kind of the kickoff to the whole awards night. So it was very cool to have you guys there. You've been faithful annual event attenders for the last 4 years, and we're just super grateful I was grateful to honor your team and have you guys on stage when we were together here in Salt Lake. So very cool.
Thank you.
Ta- Tanya, what else? What can we talk about?
Well, I think one of the coolest things that just recently happened is Dr. Holloway and then Blake, who is office manager extraordinaire and happens to be her brother. It is a family practice. And then their 3 hygienists just joined us at Leadership Academy this past weekend.
Oh, nice.
In Dallas. And Teaser will be doing that again in October. So hopefully everybody can attend. But one of the things we talked about this morning was just all the big takeaways from the spirit of masterminding. And the biggest, I think, takeaways that I heard from the hygiene team especially wasn't so much what they heard from on stage, but that opportunity to interact with their peers and with their colleagues in the true spirit of the mastermind. So I think that's been really rewarding from what I understand.
Yes.
And their hygiene team also participates in the Crown Council mastermind meetings
Nice.
every month. So
Very cool.
I think one of the things that I noticed that really sets their practice apart is that their engagement level in all things learning and growth is just at the highest levels. And not just with TOPS and Crown Council, but with clinical training and beyond. They just really set the bar high. And I'm really proud of them for that.
Very cool. Maybe we could hear from a couple of the team members something that is happening or that you are doing in your practice that just either wows your patients or is an incredible part of your patient service that other teams could learn from. Is there somebody who would be willing to share?
So one of our favorite things that we have in the practice now isn't, and I assume that most practices have a treasure chest for the kids that's got, bouncy balls and
Yes.
stickers and things like that. Well, we have what we call our grown-up treasure chest.
Whoa.
So there are like drink, like what do you call those? Tumblers, brewmates, there's some board games in there. There happens to be some bottles of alcohol in there, movie tickets. So
Free foot massage certificates.
that's the idea. That's the idea.
Nice.
So our patients that we truly adore, we actually have a token of gratitude that we also give to them. And that's in honor of my dad too. So we gift them the token of gratitude, and then they have the opportunity to exchange the token of gratitude from something in the grown-up prize box. So that's been a lot
Very
of fun.
cool. Great idea. Awesome.
Is very cool. And if
Anything
I
else?
could just add one thing that I love about this practice, for many years, everybody at the Crown Council has heard Steve Anderson talk about what's the best thing that happened yesterday. And this team really embraced that idea. And then they added to it and they added in the gratitude component, which is what happened yesterday with our patients or in our practice that we have gratitude towards, and where can we show gratitude today? And I think that that's really powerful. In fact, it reminds me, Stuart, of
Mhm.
you,
Oh,
because in our team meeting series many years ago, you do an intro to a speaker, and at the end of it, you challenge everybody to make a list of all the things that they're grateful for.
very good. Is that where, Tanya, where does the team share the gratitude? Where you guys, is that a planned? Is that something that you do every day that's planned or weekly? Can you talk about that?
It's part of our mom.
Okay.
So it's something that we identify, every day. Everybody
Nice.
has a hand in it and a part in it, and then we share the results of that the following day.
Nice.
Along
Great.
with our reviews and referrals, we kind of tie it in with some of that reporting, so.
Very good.
And there's guidelines that they have to make.
Yeah.
They have to meet. I mean, we like to show gratitude to a lot of people, but the ones that are worthy of the token, they have stricter criteria.
Everyone giggles. Okay, what are they?
Gratitude boundaries.
Okay.
Yes.
What are the guidelines?
Donna, you kind of,
They keep their appointments. They honor our time if they need to make a change in their appointment. They've been loyal to the practice. They allow us to make mistakes and we preserve the relationship. We talk it through and they still stay with us rather than putting demands on the relationship. They pay their bill happily. Yes, that's important. They complete their treatment that's recommended. And they refer.
Yes.
Wow. Great list.
One
Very
thing I like about the token of gratitude, especially the word picture of the token, is there's two sides of the token. So we have on one side the patient who's meeting all those requirements for the token of gratitude, or what we would consider the ideal patient. And on the other side, we have the patient that has the opportunity, or we can develop that relationship to make them the more ideal patient or train them to be the more ideal patient. So we have both things happening, acknowledging the patients that are already there and developing our relationships with the patients that need a little training.
Very smart. Fantastic idea. Very fun to share. Thank you. Tanya, anything else before we wrap up?
I think we could be on here all day, Stuart.
I do too. I do want to ask one question. Oftentimes, if the team could be honest, oftentimes in the Crown Council community, there's a really great opportunity to teach the doctors what they're doing that is working, whether it's communication or teamwork or some. Can I hear from the team when you look at your doctor, what is one thing that other doctors could do, or doctors that in the Crown Council might learn from your doctor, things that are happening that make your team so successful?
Yes.
Yes, a great question.
I think, I really affirm Dr. Holloway, her continued seeking for knowledge, continuing to grow and hone her skill set. She's already an amazing clinician, but I think the continuing ed that she seeks out and the technology she brings to our practice helps her grow as a provider, but also helps our patients fulfill their treatment needs as well.
Yeah. Also, she really supports all of us in caring for the patients. She takes the time to get to know them. She finds out what really matters to them, as well as all of us. We definitely try and put intention on that. And I think that just makes the experience so much better for the patient, because they're not just a number, they're a person.
I love that. Very good. All right. Well, one last thing before I let you guys go. My extreme gratitude for the work you did last year with Smiles for Life. This team raised over $12,000 for Smiles for Life. It was really fun to honor you at the annual event. But could you talk about that for 1 minute? What are you guys hoping to accomplish for Smiles for Life? And why was it such a huge part of your practice?
We love Smiles for Life because whitening is something that everybody wants. So to have an opportunity to deliver a service that every patient wants, and also by doing good at the same time, was something that we were really excited about. So we set the goal high last year and we achieved our goal. We've set the goal even higher this year. So we're working toward that goal. So still got about 60 days left of Smiles for Life.
Yeah.
Something like that. So.
And can you talk about Neighbors United? How'd you pick your local charity?
So yeah, absolutely. Neighbors United is actually a charity that a lot of people in the area know about because news has covered it. The director of that charity every year does a walk across the state where he's a firefighter, and he puts on all the firefighter gear and walks across the state to raise money for charity. Wow. And he also, gives money to families of first responders and just any need that he becomes aware of in the community that needs access to resources. So we've really loved working with Neighbors United and all the work that they do here in Macomb County, Michigan.
And he's your patient, right?
He is our patient, yes.
Nice. Great partner. Great choice. Very good. Okay. Get back to work. Very good. Thank you, Tanya.
All right. Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Appreciate you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you, Tanya. Always great to connect with our TOPS coaches. They're out in practices every week, all week, training, coaching, and developing systems So we're always grateful to connect with them. Our next segment is with a resource partner. Grateful to connect with Elevate Oral Care, one of our resource partners of the year. We're thankful for them and all the contributions that they give to not only the Crown Council membership, but also Smiles for Life and their work with our humanitarian group. All right. Hey, everybody. Stuart Anderson with Crown Council Livestream. Hi, Haley Buckner.
Hello, how are you?
So grateful to connect with Haley from Elevate Oral Care, which, by the way, if you didn't know, at the Salt Lake City annual event, received the Resource Partner of the Year award. How cool was that?
It was so cool. We felt so honored, and you guys just make everybody feel so special. So it was a great event, and we're honored to be that.
As sad as it was, I was researching that a little bit, and I'm like, this had to have been 3 or 4 years ago. I'm like, it was just a year ago that happened.
I
So,
know.
those annual events sometimes feel like they are a long ways away. So very good. We are grateful to have you as a resource partner. As a reiteration of our resource partners, these are partners, not vendors inside the Crown Council membership, who are here to better your patient service, to better your patient care, both the experience that your patients have, and to just have solutions for your practice, things that we've seen on the email network and things that have happened inside Crown Council where we say, Elevate Oral Care can solve that problem or help us with that challenge. So we're going to talk about a few of those things today. Haley, will you just share real quick mission, purpose, history of Elevate Oral Care? Is that okay?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
let's do it.
Elevate Oral Care is a pretty cool company. We're still fairly new in this dental space. We've been around since about 2010, but the owners of our company used to own a company called Omni Oral Pharmaceuticals. So for those of you that have been in dentistry for a while, you probably remember Omni. They were leaders in prevention. They brought a lot of firsts to dentistry with the first stannous fluoride rinse, PerioMed. They brought forward the first fluoride varnish with Cavity Shield, and then made the first unit dose fluoride varnish white colored with Vanish, which is still widely used today. And a lot of other first tooth whitening, all sorts of different products. And that company sold to 3M back in 2006. And at that point, the owners of our company were thinking, well, we're not really done yet in this space. So a few years later, they decided to launch a new company, again, very similar to Omni, preventive focused. And that's something we take really seriously. A lot of the dental diseases that we face with our patients day in and day out are pretty much preventable. And so we want to really put a focus on prevention in dentistry. And so we're back to do that again with Elevate Oral Care. And we have a lot of unique products too. We really don't want to bring forward just another Me Too product. So we've developed some pretty neat products. We brought the first silver diamine fluoride to the United States with Advantage Arrest. But beyond that too, we have a very unique fluoride varnish. It was the first and only 2.5% sodium fluoride varnish for a very long time with Floramax. We have some great prescription toothpaste, which hopefully we'll get to talk about a little bit later with the Smiles for Life initiative. And with that too, we've made it so we have a pea-sized dose where the pump will perfectly dispense the pea-sized dose. So these high-risk patients, especially children, are going to get that proper amount of fluoridated toothpaste, but without ingesting too much. So we really pride ourselves in innovation and bringing forward some really unique products that are hopefully going to help patients. And ultimately, we love to educate. So we have a team of preventive care consultants who can come into your office and educate you and your team on the latest in prevention, patient-centered communication, all that good stuff. And then we offer some continuing education courses throughout our webinar platform as well. So
nice. Very
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
One thing that we always encourage our resource partners to do is try to be creative and find a way to participate in Smiles for Life or the humanitarian trips. You mentioned it there for a sec. Can you talk about that, what your idea was and how you've connected with the charity work at Crown Council?
Yeah, so we wanted to be a part and help donate to Smiles for Life as much as we could. So we've done something where we run a promotion from January through the end of June, where any of our 5,000 parts per million fluoride toothpaste lines sold to Crown Council offices, we're donating a portion of that sales directly to Smiles for Life, which is great because if you think about it, this wonderful whitening campaign that you guys have, whitening can cause sensitivity. And something that's great to kind of combat that is that prescription higher strength fluoride toothpaste can really help treat any sensitivity that those patients can have or prevent it. So
I
we've
have to use it.
decided-
That's me. I got to use it.
I do too. I'm not alone with you. So yeah, absolutely. We wanted to help to think of a way to partner with what the campaign you guys already have going on. So if you have those patients that, you run in with sensitivity, but then too, there's just such a huge majority of patients out there who would greatly benefit from prescription strength toothpaste. Anybody who's been classified to have an increased risk for decay, which is said to be about 84.5% of the population, would greatly benefit from higher strength at-home fluoride toothpaste. So a lot of your patients will benefit from it. And if you purchase the Elevate line, and we've got 6 different ones to choose from, some with a sensitivity benefit, some for children, SLS free, dry mouth, all sorts of different formulations of those toothpaste. A portion of that sale will go back to Smiles for Life.
Nice. Okay, very
Yeah,
cool. Very
yeah.
good. If you spend any time on your website, you can see what you just talked about. A large portion of your time is spent towards CE, so training, educational tools for doctors and teams. Can you talk about that for just a second? Why it's not just products on the website, and why you've doubled down to educate?
Absolutely. So education is just so important. It's important for us as clinicians to educate our patients, but it's important for the clinicians to be up to date on the latest in education so that they are educating their patients properly. So that's something that, like I said, we really pride ourselves on at Elevate Oral Care. We don't just want to sell a product. We really want to help the betterment of patients out there. And the best way to do that is through education. So we've got a couple of different ways that we offer education to clinicians. One is through our webinar platform. So usually about once a month, typically on a Tuesday evening, we do a live continuing education webinar with an expert in the dental field. It's nobody from Elevate Oral Care. We'll bring on some dentist or researcher or hygienist or dental therapist to come on and educate us on something that's typically prevention related, but oftentimes we've done much more beyond that. We've done courses on social media for offices. We've done marketing for offices, but most of them have to do around dental prevention. And we typically do an hour CE on that evening. And if you tune in live, you can get your live CE credit, which I know some states require. But if you're not able to tune in live, we keep a bank of those recorded on our website. And in order to get the CE credit, you just have to watch it in its entirety. And then there's a 5-question quiz at the end. So, yep, thanks, Steve, for popping that up.
There it
You can
is. Is that
read
it?
through there. That's it. There are plenty of great recorded webinars up on there. We've got our next one coming up on Tuesday, April 9th, live at 8 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, anytime you are looking for some CE and want some additional training, check out that page. We've got some great ones stored on there.
What a library.
Yes, it's growing pretty fast. We're pretty proud of that, and many more to come this year. And then, of course, the other opportunity for education is really right there with scheduling that in-person or online meeting with your team. So it's going to be much more to what you and your office are looking for. And you can see all the bullet points there. Patient-centered communication skills. Our team has been trained on what's termed motivational interviewing. There's a lot of great research out there on there. And we were trained by the only US dentist member of MINT, which is the Motivational Interviewing Network of Trainers. And the idea behind motivational interviewing is that it allows us to understand what is important to our patients. So we get on that kind of level with each patient to understand what it is they want to accomplish, what their oral health goals are. And that way we can dictate the proper treatment for them based on what they'll actually accomplish. Because the research shows that if we gear that treatment towards the patient, they're going to be much more likely to achieve the goals we set forth for them if it's around, of course, their needs and values and desires. So that's one of the great things that our team can do. We take it back to Carrie's risk assessment, which is critical and so important. So really just a lot of great in the latest education around prevention and those techniques.
I love that. How cool is that? I mean, that is, from a sales perspective, building the trust of the people you work with. That's just so good to hear. You're educating and teaching best practices to teams that want to learn it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
I noticed Steve was on there, and oftentimes we revolve around how does a dental team provide incredible patient care? Can you talk about how a patient's experience can be changed or bettered just by partnering with you and some of the things that you offer?
Yeah, certainly. So I touched on it briefly there, but really, I'll hear from friends all the time. They'll tell me about their dental experiences, just being a hygienist. They'll be like, "You won't believe what happened at my dental office." And you just hear these stories time and time again where, they just feel like they're in and out. It's, they term it as their semi-annual scolding appointment. And we don't want any patients to feel that
I'm
way.
going to
And
name
we-
our segment that. That
Okay,
is so
deal.
good.
deal. But it should be a good experience, and it should be where patients come into the practice and they feel valued and they feel like you're there to help them make a difference in not just their oral health, but really their overall health. So that's something that, we help offices do, is we really just make sure that we're focusing on what's important to that patient, what they value, and how to get them as healthy as possible based on their needs. So we take it that way. And then too, we've got a lot of options as far as preventive tools to implement, preventive products, both for in-office use and at home. And we'll certainly make sure the team totally understands what each of those products are, how they're going to better their patient, how to use them properly, and even how to explain them to patients too.
Very good.
So, yeah.
Hey, Haley, as we wrap up, one thing that we usually or often talk about as we are with our resource partners is how does a Crown Council member not only interact with you, but what are the benefits of doing it because they are a Crown Council member? Are there, can we talk about how you treat or what you can do for Crown Council offices?
Yeah, we love our Crown Council offices. I've attended the annual event last couple of years, and I think that you guys have hearts of gold. And I really think that a lot of our Crown Council offices don't need that extra help and motivation in really properly caring for their patients, but we're here for you in any way to help with that. So we have created our institutional pricing plan, which we typically only give to like government agencies, and it's our best pricing we offer. And we've extended that pricing to Crown Council offices along with a staff meeting special. So any of those offices that do schedule a staff meeting with our preventive care consultants, you'll not only get CE, if that rep is in your area, they'll bring lunch for the entire team. And then you guys can also take advantage of a staff meeting special in addition to that special pricing as well. So we really value our Crown Council offices and hope that you guys take us up on this offer and bring our reps into your office.
Cool. I love it. I'm going to share my screen one more time. This is my webpage hub for Elevate Oral Care on the Crown Council website. So if you go to my directory, it's pretty easy. So everyone's directory looks like this, and you'll find our resource partners. And there's two ways to find Elevate, but I usually just go right to the search and you'll go to their page. And this is where we keep all the resources that you would need to connect with or be with Elevate Oral Care. I know we've done a webinar there, which is with you guys. And then let's make sure that the key contact is Kevin Thomas. Is that true, Haley?
We should probably change that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you the updated information. He's the owner of the company, so he's a
Okay.
busy guy. So yeah, it'll just be me. I'll be your key contact, and then I'd be happy to get anyone in touch with their appropriate representative
Okay.
and help you guys out in any way.
All right. I'll include the link that we just showed, and then other information that Haley talked about, so you can connect with Elevate Oral Care with the recording of the live stream. So, all right. Do we miss anything? Anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll look forward to seeing everyone again at the annual event next year.
Yes. Hey, thanks, Haley.
Thanks, Sue. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we're thankful for Elevate Oral Care and grateful for the time that we got to spend with Haley. Our final segment today will be with Crown Council member Dr. Marcy Schwartzman. Dr. Schwartzman and I made this interview connected a week or so ago. And what we were doing is actually creating a webinar series, a podcast series for young dentists who are trying to decide what to do after dental school. So a lot of the advice that Dr. Schwartzman gives is about building her practice, how she made it work, and how her career started, and maybe a few of the things that she would do different moving forward. This isn't the full interview. We're going to have that podcast and webinar series coming up soon. It's our mentorship series, the second one we've done, where we go out and interview some of our Crown Council doctors. So grateful for Dr. Schwartzman, thankful for all that she's given over the years to the Crown Council members, and enjoy this interview with her. All right, welcome everybody. I'm Stuart Anderson, joined by Dr. Marcy Schwartzman. Hi, Dr. Schwartzman.
Morning.
Morning. So grateful to be with you. Marcy is one of our Crown Council members and has been since 1999, which is really fun. One of the original founding members of Crown Council. Well, we are grateful for you as a leader in this group, for your example, not only as a dentist, but as a person. You have been, a foundation of everything that we do as part of the Crown Council for so long. And I'm actually excited to share your story and let other people know about you. I know that you're practicing out of Vancouver, British Columbia, which is, we were just talking about how beautiful it is today. Can you tell everybody, just as a introduction, a little bit about your practice today, just size and where you are and what's happening? Yeah, go ahead.
That's an interesting story. So,
Well, don't tell too much. We got to save a little of it for
Okay.
later. Okay.
so my practice, which I started from scratch, is it depends on how the lights run, but it's
Mhm.
maybe a 5-minute car ride from my home and a 15-minute car ride from where my kids were going to school, and even less from their high school. The location was about that. It's a very central part of Vancouver, and Vancouver's a growing place. They're particularly on our corridors where their main traffic corridors. They're building rapid transit. They're trying to take people out of cars and get them into out of their cars. So my office happened to be when the Olympics happened here in Vancouver in 2010. They built an additional line and I'm waiting on the for the Olympics, and that happened to have one major stop right at the corner where my office is. So
Nice.
from the airport to downtown Vancouver, you have to go by my office on a rapid transit line. So that makes from downtown Vancouver a 10-minute jump on a train, or from the airport another 10 minutes. So transit wise, it's positioned in a really great place, but it's also positioned to proximity to where I live and where my kids were going to be. So that
Nice.
the location was a great location. So
Very cool. When you were, I know that you alluded to this a little bit in your introduction on your website, which is fun, but I would love to hear the story about how you started your career in dentistry. Were there mentors or big influences that you said, I want to do this, I want to be part of this? Could you tell that story?
yeah, for sure. Well, as it's funny. I had my first grade teacher in at the office the other day. She's been a patient for a long time. And I was taking her up to the administrative team to look after her next appointments, and she was bragging about me as a small girl in first grade about how brilliant I was. And I like, I don't know about that, but she was reminiscing about that. But as a inquisitive young person, I had a very big diastema between my two front teeth, and my mom, on behest of our family friend who was our dentist, took me to one of the more prominent orthodontist as a child, probably about 7 or 8. And it was, the guy looked at me, then he took my mother into some consultation room, and then we left. There was no conversation, no anything. And he told my mom what he told her. We were going to do this, and this was the risk, and blah, blah, blah. And like, didn't really have any connection with me as a child. Years passed. My parents decided to not do anything with that particular person at the time. Years pass, and I now go to see this young orthodontist who's now going to ultimately be my orthodontist. And he was the most wonderful man. He engaged me as a young 12-year-old. It was like my mom was the secondary person there, and he looked me in the eye, and he was like, and he was like, well, we're gonna do this and this, and then he was like, Mom, do you get it? And it was really, he was talking to me as a person, and built the relationship with me as the child. And so, that I really loved. It gave me some empowerment in my own treatment. And I felt like I was part of the situation, and he had time to answer my 12-year-old questions. And so, probably between those next 2 to 3 years, I had lots. And by the time I was probably 15, I figured I was going to be an orthodontist. Was the plan. Then
Mhm.
life happened, but things don't always go according to plan, but dental school did happen. So, that became my part of my reality. I kind of had the opportunity because I've been going to a private school until ninth grade. In my ninth grade class, we had 7 kids in it. And so we were all, for the most part, an intelligent group. So we zipped along. And by the time I finished ninth grade and switched to the public school system with one science class in summer school, I was somewhere between 10th and 11th grade. So they stuck me in 10th grade for the first year, and then they switched me to 12th grade the following year. So I missed kind of a year of high school. So my first day of college, I was 16 years old still. So I kind of got through my process of college. So I was 24 years old when I finished dental school.
Oh,
So
wow.
there was one other a gal that's 2 months younger than I am, but I was the second youngest student in our class. So
Very cool. And when you look back at dental school, maybe even the first couple of years out of dental school, are there things that you remember that really stuck with you, or even putting yourself now in the shoes of dental students, and you were going to give them advice? Um, what did you learn from those experiences in dental school that have stuck with you?
yeah, I was thinking about that, and um, kind of around October of my first year in dental school, I went off with the youngest girl in our class. The two of us went off to a women in dentistry club meeting, and then we went afterwards to a program out at the university for Jewish students. And I happened to bump into a young man that I happened to know from high school, but I'd been off at college for the last 4 years and been busy with that, definitely a goal of getting into dental school. So I was really academic driven. And this was a young man that I happened to often walk to school in the morning in high school because we had an early morning chemistry class together. But he was working in his family business, and I would be busy doing academic things, and he would be finishing school and going to work in his family business. But kind of met up again, and 3 years later we got married. So
Mhm.
wasn't exactly in the plan, had no intention about getting married in dental school or between third and fourth year, not a plan at all. I was working for a an orthodontist that was on faculty as her summer research student. I got the orthodontic award. I was setting my life up to get into a post-grad ortho program, like layering on layering on layering. And then I ended up marrying Larry. And but when we met, he was working in his family business, and his family business had a lot of blue collar truck driver kind of people that were working. And he would come with me to my dental school functions of academia people and driven gold people. And I would go to his company things, and they were truck drivers. And it was a different group of people. And I had to stop and sort of rethink, okay, how am I going to have connections with people and be able to have meaningful conversations with the person that was in front of me? And I had to sort of turn off academic thought and really be there for the people that were in front of you. And I think that I took that innately into who I was dealing with and how you have to connect with the person that's in front of you on a level that is appropriate to them. So it's how you explain things, how you talk about things, where you have initial conversations. If you're dealing with the patient that's the pediatric neurosurgeon versus the truck driver, like
Right.
they just have a different vocabulary and a different expectation, but equally as important as, because without either of them, the world doesn't function very well. So I said once to a kid, she said, my dad's a garbage collector. And I said, that is a important job. And she looked at me like, you're kidding. And I said, no,
It is.
it is, because when your dad's not doing his job, the whole city turns into the potential for infection and for just the challenges of not having regular garbage is really vital. And so that's a really important job. And she just was like, whoa, like it changed her whole perspective of what her dad did, and in a good way. So, everybody's important in their own way, and treating each person as the unique person that they are, I think is probably a big lesson that I learned early on, I think. And it's still something that it's about the relationship with people that's really important.
Nice.
And taking the time to sit with somebody that's a new patient, to actually take a moment to sit and get to know them as a true person, and appreciate them as the unique person that they are. So
Very good. What a great lesson to learn early on
yeah.
in your career. Yeah. Very
Yeah,
good.
yeah, right. And in dental school, where it's so often you see people as the what do we call that? You had to do so many MODs, you had to do so many crowns, like that. Okay, that's the patient with the 3-unit bridge and the 2 endos and the whatever, and you lose sight of the person for the requirements that they need.
Right.
So that I think was a really important component of like an early lesson.
Very good. When you graduated dental school, what were did you have goals or visions of what you wanted to build, or what came next? Can you talk about when you graduated, where you started to work and what you learned from that?
Scarily, it was 40 years ago. It was that we just had the British Columbia dental meeting, and we had a gathering for our 40th reunion picture. So that's like, how did that happen so fast? And times were different a little bit. I went to my local dental school. Luckily, I got into there, and I graduated with no student debt, which is like
Wow.
unheard of
Mhm.
nowadays. I think my tuition was $8,000.
8?
8. 40 years
Mhm.
ago, but it was $8,000 a year,
Wow. Okay.
which my parents were very happy to cover. I was lucky to have that, but and lived at home until I got married, and then lived in a family-owned apartment where the rent was $200 a month or something like that. So but in graduating, I had the huge bonus of no student debt. So that gave me a lot of opportunities to think about what was coming next. So I had, at the time, State of Israel had a program that you could come and be a volunteer dentist.
Hmm.
So Larry and I made the plan to go be a volunteer dentist in Israel for 2 months. That was happening in October, and he had a family business. So for him to step away from family business was an opportunity that he hadn't done for a long time. He'd started working in his family business at 14. So it was an opportunity to go to Israel and do some good. So we had that planned for October, and at that location where the office is, was an even shorter walk from where we were living. And they were just completing a renovation on one of the first open air shopping malls that was in the city of Vancouver. And they were building a combined retail residential building that was including medical dental offices. And so at that particular time, I looked at taking some space for a dental office because of the proximity that we talked about. It wasn't the big transportation corridor at the time, but it was on a main street, and it was going to be attached to this mall that was really the center of the community. And we were going to be, it was brand new, but it wasn't going to be completed until sort of the beginning of 1985. So we had a little bit of time to kill, because it was like, okay, I'm going to open up a practice there because it's where we want to live. It's close to where the kids are going to potentially go to school, although we didn't have them in at that particular time. But it just was in the neighborhood I grew up in. It was like the perfect location. So we knew that I had some planning to do. So I finished dental school, and I needed to kill some time for the summer. So on the bulletin board, someone had put up that they were looking for a locum. They were going away to the FDI conference, and they wanted someone to look after their office while they were gone they were taking an extended summer vacation to Croatia. I forget where it was, but somewhere in that general sense of the word. So I was like, okay, I could do that. British Columbia in Canada, there's no mandatory GPR. So as long as you got papers in your hand that says you're licensed to practice, you're good to go. So on June the 2nd, me with my new license to practice showed up at it was a 3 chairs and 2 dental assistants office
Okay.
to take over the practice. And
Wow.
I remember a couple times, and like a private office was like a closet more or less in this office. And I remember looking at something, making a diagnosis, and after dental school, you're so used to relying on an instructor that have to check you at every point of the whole thing. And here now, all of a sudden I have to make a decision. I remember going, excuse me for a moment, walking into that private office and going, oh my, what am I going to do here? I was like, okay, you got to make a decision. So we're going with it. Like whatever happens, it is. And there was, it was like a one right system on a pegboard is how they did their calculations. And I was more or less the doctor and the hygienist and the assistants would do the polishing, but basically you were it.
Wow.
1984, we did not wear gloves all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was just becoming a thing in 1984. And across the street from the office was one of the area's drug rehab day service programs. And remember one guy coming in and clearly a part of the drug rehab program, and looking at him and saying to the gals, like, I think maybe next time we're gonna wear gloves for when we have, sure enough, he had some medical issues of that, but I mean, that was just the beginning of HIV and AIDS becoming really paramount in the program, and just or in the reality of the world, and just understanding that gloves were not going to be an option as they were at the time. And so that was sort of the first go round of some significant changes into how we practiced and what we did on a day.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was
Crazy to think that. I mean, 40 years sounds like a long time, but if you think 1985, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, that the changes and things that have taken place since then. So
right. But
incredible what you've seen.
Yeah, right. But at the time, we didn't wear masks on a regular basis.
Right.
If you were gonna do like a serious surgical procedure, you put on gloves and a mask and maybe a hair cover, but
Hmm.
for the most
Wow.
part, it was wet finger dentistry was the
The real,
reality.
yeah.
So that was my first 3 months, and then we had the volunteer for 2 months
Mm.
in Israel, and then we came back in January, and then began the process of starting to do the plans, and starting to figure out how to build a office from the ground up, and just the things like going to get a bank loan
Mm.
um, for was 100,000, yeah, $100,000 and having to do a business plan, yeah, which I made up. I don't know how much of that, but I had, there was- I had some statistics, but I mean, um, went to go do a couple of bank meetings. I mean, and this was me at 25
Mm-hmm.
going to do meetings with banks to get my big $100,000 loan for the year.
Okay.
Conveniently, my father knew that the VP of the bank that I ultimately got the loan from. So while he did not countersign my loan,
Mhm.
I did get it on my own accord. No one countersigned, but it did not hurt that my family, my parents' business was in the same. I had some recommendation from on my behalf, um, and uh, I didn't have student debt that I had to worry about. My husband was able to support our family, and so I started up a scratch practice with a $100,000 debt. Mind
Wow.
you, interest rates were at were at like 20% at the time. So it was, that was when that was going down. So there was definitely a different situation as for that. Um, but I opened an office with me and one dental student. I'm sorry, one dental assistant who, if it hadn't been for her father passing away and her mother with macular degeneration needing more care and really wanted her daughter to be there, would still be my dental assistant um,
Mm.
on my team. So Anna's been a member of our team from day one.
Wow.
Is still a really, really good friend. Um, so the two of us set up an office with two chairs. There's space for four with two chairs and a computer because I had watched the ladies at the other office um, struggle with their pegboard one right system and trying to balance at the end of the day because often what they were taking was cash and just trying to balance. And I don't even know if they took credit cards at the time, maybe not. But just the challenges of balancing cash and adding your columns and if mathematical errors, it just was a disaster. So I started with a computer that was basically a Commodore 64, which was a good $10,000 purchase at the time, which was like out of $100,000, $10,000 is a lot of money for a computer, but it allowed us to be just the two of us for a while until we started to grow. And then I added a second assistant and then a hygienist, and then
Wow.
administrative person because we had a cross-trained team that was able to manage things reasonably well, and we learned how to work through that. But it was um, was kind of a bump into growth plan. I honestly didn't have a really definitive growth plan, and as I'm looking at some of the young people that I've seen in the last little while, they have a far more sophisticated plan on how they're growing. And mine was kind of I think a lot driven by the fact that I didn't really have a debt hovering over my head.
Right.
And that if I didn't, we were generating income, but as long as I was meeting all everybody's requirements and paying all the staff and paying the rent, and all of that kind of things, that if I didn't pay myself as much, it was still going to be okay, because it was okay.
Yeah.
Which I think is nowadays impossible to even have that kind of consideration. And I really had the luxury of that. So a very big difference between 1984 and today, from what I'm
Yeah.
seeing.
Definitely. Marcy, looking back, did you, although maybe the financial plan wasn't what you had mapped out, can you say that, how did you develop your philosophy of care? So, how did you decide or work with your team on how people would be treated and what the practice culture would be? Was that something that was mapped out or that you had a vision for from the beginning, or did that come later? Could you talk about your philosophy of care and how it works in your practice?
So initially it was really about relationship with people, and providing them with what I saw. But as much as I was a brave person on going to open a scratch practice with not a whole lot of background or business acumen, I still kind of felt like I was 25 and I was coming in to present a treatment plan, and I had a heavy case of what did they call it? Approval addiction. Bad, real bad. And I had, through my Alpha Omega acquaintances, a couple of friends that had said they'd gone to this thing called dental boot camp, had changed their philosophy on what they were doing. And I was like, okay, I could, that sounds like a good thing. And I looked at my team at the time and I was like, okay, it's a bit expensive because we have to fly people from Vancouver in Canada down to Texas,
Right.
to this little place called Kerrville. I've never heard of that place. And we're going to go to this thing. And okay, I'm not going to take everybody, but I'm going to take one administrative person, my assistant that I was talking about, the gal from the very beginning, and one hygienist. So at least we'll have part of each of the key team members come with us. So we'll learn something, maybe, and maybe it'll make a difference. Because I had some other consultants in, but nothing really established much from that. So we go down to boot camp, and I think the thing that stuck for me, like to this day, it's still kind of is emotional thing is, I think it was Walter Haley that was the one that presented it, but it was like, okay, I want you to take your hand on a scale from 1 to 10, right on your hand, where are you today? And I thought about it, and it was like, okay, 6.5 is what I put on my 6.5 is what I put up there, and went through that whole process that most of us that have been around in the Crown Council or through dental boot camp or in TOPS, the philosophy of I'm a 10 is an important component of where we start from, and went through that process of was like, no, you're a 10. And I like, wow, that changed my mindset of where I was and how I came to work every day. Because people in the office, I'm for the most part, Schwartzman's not the easiest thing to say. So from the very beginning, I was Dr. Marcy, but part of it was because like here I was, 25-year-old dentist running this place, and I was talking to a 60-year-old person, and you need this, and I was like, yeah, okay, maybe we'll wait on that, because I just didn't, in some way, that approval addiction was a challenge for me. So I came back from that first round at boot camp with a different view of, you know what, it's not my responsibility to judge what you are or what you want to spend or what you think, but it is my responsibility to do my job, and my job's to assess your teeth and tell you what I see, and then together we can come up to a conclusion of what you want. I can tell you my recommendations,
Hmm.
and that was a novel concept for me, and I think the a significant turning point into the financial success
Mm,
of the practice when I came back with that, because all of a sudden I didn't have a problem about telling people that we needed to do 3 crowns and this is the situation, and that that was the reality because I wasn't stuck in my approval addiction challenge. I still have moments of that.
mhm.
Um, I still have to be a 10 sometimes. I still like have to sit with it. I'm a 10, I'm a 10
Mm.
some mornings. Because life happens. And if you start every day with that affirmation, then it sets the tone for how you come to work every day, and how you expect your team to come to work every day. And so,
Mm.
that became the process of um, meeting some of the things that, as a qualified member of the council, sitting down and thinking about those things, about um, what our culture is, what our plans are, what our goals are, what are we, um, honestly, still, not, um, I'm not such a big tracker of KPIs because, when we were doing a lot of that, um, the team kind of all looks at you like, huh? And I don't always find that we had better results from people when they were driven by that. And so, it became a lot about relationship and how we look after people in the best possible way.
Mm.
And that's our goal, is to look after people in the best possible way, then that financial part will come with it.
Nice.
But it was about that time when I actually started seriously paying myself in the way that I should be paying myself. And so just even emotionally, that was better for me because at the point when I started having kids, I hired an associate, and the associate for sure got paid, but on percentage. But everybody else had to get paid first before myself, which is the challenge. But that at that point, that's when things really turned around, and I started paying myself appropriately. So.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us on this Crown Council live stream, and we will see you next week.